Welcome to the deep dive. Look, today we're going way beyond the usual misunderstandings or, secret plots. We are really digging into the week of August 25th. In Bold and the Beautiful, and honestly, it's defined by some truly dark stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. We're talking about a calculated, devastating assault, the rise of maybe a new generation of pure villainy, and maybe the worst time proposal ever.
Seriously. So our mission today, as always, is to take the sources you've given us, break down those specific plot points, the spoilers leading up to and including that week, August 25th to the 29th.
And we need to preface this by saying this material, it gets into some ethically complex territory. It's genuinely shocking, and it feels like it's setting up maybe a new kind of bar for daytime drama stakes.
It really does. The themes we've pulled out are pretty heavy. There's this really shocking scheme, right, involving intentional, severe intoxication and, well, non-consensual acts.
Yeah, and then the immediate aftermath, the memory loss, the sheer panic that follows.
And then sort of balancing that horror, you've got this major relationship pivot, a guy's desperation leading him to, well, propose at the absolute worst moment.
It's quite the mix. And we have to be clear about the timeline here, because the trauma that really shapes this whole week, it starts with one specific, really catastrophic event.
Right. The fallout hits hard during the week of the 25th, but the actual crime, the act itself, that kicks off earlier, Wednesday, August 20th, right? At that party at Il Giardino.
Exactly. That's the moment. That's where we see a character, Luna Nozawa, make a decision, a very calculated one, that basically shifts her entire place in this world forever.
Okay, so let's unpack that setup. Wednesday, August 20th. The sources are incredibly clear about Luna's mindset going into this party. They describe her as being in full villain mode. So malicious. This wasn't just like a heat-of-the-moment mistake or something.
No, not at all. This was premeditated. The sources say she's watching her evil plan play out. It's calculated. It's designed for maximum damage.
And the weapon she chooses.
Yeah.
It's not just words or manipulation. It's physical.
Right. She goes straight for a chemical weapon, essentially. She specifically targets Will Spencer. He orders a vodka soda, which seems pretty standard, right?
Yeah, normal drink.
But she swaps the vodka, replaces it with 180 proof booze.
180 proof. We need to stop on that for a second. That's practically pure grain alcohol.
It is. It's incredibly potent. This isn't just about getting someone a bit tipsy or even drunk. This is engineered for incapacitation.
Total incapacitation. The goal was to ensure Will became completely wasted, to eliminate any chance of clear thought, self-defense.
And crucially, consent. Any possibility of consent is just wiped out by that level of alcohol.
Absolutely. We're not talking about just a strong cocktail here. This is a level of intoxication that physiologically, it shuts down your cognitive functions, your executive control.
Yeah, the sources are really precise on this. They note that because of that 180 proof swap, by the time Will's had, say, his third drink.
Which normally wouldn't be that much over an evening.
Right, exactly. But because of Luna, that third drink hits him with the alcoholic equivalent of about 9 standard cocktails.
9. Wow. That's a deliberate overdose.
Yeah.
It's poisoning. Mass is just having a few drinks.
It really is. That's the malice of it. And the sources, they draw this really critical and frankly terrifying comparison. They explicitly say Luna's actions make her a whole chip off the Sheila Carter block.
Okay, wow. When you get compared to Sheila Carter, I mean, that's the ultimate benchmark for villainy on this show, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It means you've gone beyond just typical soap opera rivalry. You've entered this whole other tier of, like, calculated, cold-blooded criminality, destruction for its own sake, almost.
So it places her firmly in that legacy of truly dangerous characters. She's not just Sheila's granddaughter anymore. She's actively taking up that mantle.
Yes. And the setup, the trap itself, it worked perfectly because Will and Electra Forrester, they had no idea. They were completely oblivious.
Why? Because they thought Luna was, what, out of the picture. Maybe even assumed she was, like, metaphorically dead to them after her previous stalking.
Exactly. They had zero reason to be on guard against her. They thought that threat was neutralized. So they walk, as the source says, right into her trap.
And that obliviousness just ramps up the tension for us, the viewers.
Right.
We know what Luna's doing. We have to watch her, watching them enjoying her evil plan play out.
That's where the horror comes from. You know the victim is innocent, vulnerable, completely unaware of the danger they're in.
Yeah, it's not dramatic if the victim sees it coming. The core here is that exploitation of innocence, which makes the fact that someone tried to intervene but failed even more tragic.
Right. Okay, so that brings us to Thursday, August 21st. and Deacon Sharp's involvement.
Deacon works at Il Giardino. He sees Will.
Yeah, he sees this young guy looking like he's maybe drinking a bit too much too fast. So Deacon, being a responsible bartender, plans to cut Will off.
Which seems logical, right? Based on what Deacon sees, Will only ordered 2 or 3 drinks.
Exactly. As the source notes, that's not a ton for the evening, especially if he's not driving. From Deacon's perspective, he's just doing his job.
But the reality, because of Luna's tampering, is completely different. By the time Deacon even notices and thinks about cutting him off,
It's way too late. Will has already consumed the equivalent of maybe 9 drinks. His state was basically sealed before Deacon even stepped in.
that sudden, overwhelming level of intoxication, it just renders someone incapable. Incapable of making rational decisions, incapable of protecting themselves, and definitely incapable of giving consent.
Which leads us directly to the truly devastating consequences on Friday, August 22nd. And this is where the show draws a really sharp contrast.
Between who?
Between Elektra, the person who actually cares about Will, and Luna, the antagonist.
Okay.
On Friday, Elektra is talking to Ivy Forrester.
Okay.
And she reveals something crucial. She admits she was actually ready emotionally and physically to be intimate with Will that night.
But she didn't.
He didn't. Why? Because he was so drunk. She explicitly tells Ivy she wanted their first time to be special.
That's such a critical point the writers are making there. Elektra respects his state. She upholds that moral line, confirming her own integrity, even when she desired that intimacy.
Exactly. And Luna, the antagonist, she proceeds precisely because Will is in that compromised state. That's the horrifying difference.
So what do the sources say happens then? The leaked photo, the scene itself?
Right. The sources describe Luna cornering Will in a supply room at Il Giardino, and crucially, she's wearing the same mask Elektra had worn earlier.
Oh, that adds another layer of just cruel deception. Confusion.
Totally intentional confusion. And Will is described as half naked, his shirt's open. He's clearly not in control.
And the source notes here, we have to be really clear about how they frame this. They don't mince words.
No, they don't. The source material explicitly calls Luna's actions flat-out rape. It specifies Will was molested.
And it emphasizes there was no consent, because Luna deliberately got him drunk to the point of incapacitation. He looks, quote, pretty much passed out.
The show is very deliberately stepping into criminal territory here. It's confirming Luna has crossed a line from just being a rival or a schemer into committing a serious felony.
Wow. I mean, how does the show even move forward with a character after they've done something defined like that? That's a massive, maybe irreversible shift for her.
It feels like it has to be, and then there's that incredibly cynical but maybe horribly realistic bit of speculation in the sources about the outcome.
What's that?
Given Will's age, early 20s, the source sort of darkly observes that, their equipment always works, implying that Luna likely succeeded in her goal of, sleeping with him despite his state.
That's jarring. But it underlines the totality of the violation, doesn't it? That her malicious plan likely succeeded in its ultimate aim.
Yeah. It sets up the whole dynamic for the following week. The audience knows the truth of the crime, but the victim doesn't remember it. That's just a perfect storm for prolonged, really emotionally devastating drama.
Okay, so we have to kind of shift gears mentally now. We move from the crime scene itself, that supply closet, to the emotional and psychological wreckage in the week of August 25th through 29th.
Right. Will is now dealing with the aftermath. Profound trauma and significantly memory loss. Amnesia.
He's described as absolutely desperate to remember what happened, but it's all just foggy.
Yeah, that extreme level of alcohol, basically functioning as a physiological assault, it's created genuine amnesia. He only has these fragmented bits and pieces. He has this gut feeling something terrible occurred.
But he doesn't know what, or where, or crucially with whom.
Exactly. And the panic really kicks in. The sources say once Elektra confirms to him, "No, Will, we did not sleep together. You were far too drunk."
So if it wasn't Elektra, his mind must be racing. Who could it have been?
And those fragmented memories, they only include glimpses of a girl in the mask. He knows he got, quote, frisky with someone. His brain, reeling from the trauma and the alcohol, desperately needs to fill that gap.
Needs to rationalize it somehow.
And this is where the plot takes another really devastating turn, potentially towards a false accusation.
Because Luna, the actual perpetrator.
Right. There's no reason to suspect his presumably dead stalker. Luna is off the table in his mind, so his confusion, his desperate need for an answer, directs him somewhere else.
His mind filters for who? The only other person he interacted with.
Pretty much. The only other female presence he remembers interacting with that night in any significant way.
Which points towards Lainey, the coworker from Forrester Creations.
Exactly. The sources remind us Lainey had been flirting with him earlier. She tried to get him to dance.
But Will turned her down, right? He specifically told her no, said he only had eyes for Elektra.
He did. He absolutely rejected her advances. But when you're traumatized, confused, with huge gaps in your memory.
You might seize on the wrong explanation.
Precisely. His mind might just latch onto Lainey as the only plausible explanation for who the girl in the mask could have been, especially since suspecting Luna seems impossible.
But wait, wouldn't some part of him remember rejecting her? Or wouldn't the memory of the mask feel linked to Elektra since Luna wore her mask? Does pointing at Lainey really make sense even for a confused mind?
That's a really good point. It does feel a bit convenient plot-wise. However, you could argue the trauma scrambles everything. He might only recall the interaction with Lainey, not the rejection. And the mask. Maybe the memory is just girl in mask, and since it wasn't Elektra, his mind substitutes the only other girl present.
Okay, so Lainey becomes the path of least resistance for his panicked mind to make sense of the fragmented memory.
It seems like that's the direction. It's classic trauma response logic. Find the simplest, even if incorrect, answer to stop the agonizing uncertainty. The immediate risk for Luna, of course, is if Lainey has a solid alibi or clearly recalls Will saying no.
Right, that could blow up quickly. But for now, the danger is Lainey potentially taking the heat for something horrific she didn't do.
Exactly. The perpetrator hides, the innocent gets blamed, and the victim, Will, suffers even more confusion and possibly misplaced guilt. He's clearly in desperate need of someone to talk to, some counsel.
And who better than the guy who was right there, saw him drunk, tried to intervene? Deacon.
The sources suggest exactly that. Will is likely to go back to Il Giardino, maybe pull Deacon aside and tell him in confidence, "Look, I think I hooked up with someone in a mask, but I can't remember it."
Oh, Deacon's reaction to that. He tried to cut him off. He saw how drunk he was. He's going to feel instantly responsible, confused.
Confused because he knows Will only ordered those 2 or 3 drinks. The math won't add up for Deacon initially.
But Deacon probably isn't the one who's going to crack this case, is he? Who is most likely to figure out Luna's incredibly sophisticated, malicious involvement?
Well, who better than the person Luna seems to be trying to emulate?
Sheila Carter.
Bingo. The sources are pretty clear. Sheila is likely to figure out the truth and figure it out quickly, precisely because she is the undisputed queen of schemes.
It's almost meta, isn't it? She recognizes the playbook because she wrote it.
It really is. The sources even note this is exactly the kind of thing Sheila would have done back in her prime. Specifically, they say pre-Deacon, before she supposedly started trying to, rein in her most extreme impulses for him.
So she'll see the signs. The extreme intoxication from seemingly few drinks, the mask, the targeting of Will.
She'll recognize the signature of a high-level, malicious manipulator, a calculated predator. Because it's her signature, her insight is going to be absolutely crucial in exposing Luna.
And it confirms Luna's status, doesn't it, as the next generation legacy villain acknowledged by the original herself.
It absolutely does. Which brings us to Luna's actual family, her grandmothers, Lily, Finnegan, and Sheila.
Right. They confront Luna on Friday, August 22nd, don't they?
Yeah.
Because she took off earlier, acted suspiciously.
Yes. And the immediate expectation is Luna's going to lie. She'll try to cover her tracks, deny being anywhere near Il Giardino or Will's party.
But Lee and Sheila, they aren't easily fooled. Especially Sheila.
Definitely not. The sources say these grandmothers are decidedly not dumb. They have deep connections. They know the families involved. Once they hear about the chaos at Will's party, the specific details.
Like the extreme drunkenness, the mask.
Exactly. The source says the light bulb is going to go off. They'll realize Luna must be involved. It's too specific, too targeted, too Sheila-like to be a coincidence attributed to some random party girl.
It connects back to her earlier disappearance and suspicious behavior.
Perfectly. And this realization leads to what the source calls the bottom line, a really significant moment, especially for Lee Finnegan.
What is it?
Lee is forced to face the painful truth that her granddaughter Luna cannot be redeemed.
Whoa. Cannot be redeemed. That's a huge statement, especially coming from Lee. Why is it so definitive coming from her?
Well, think about Lee's. She's a doctor. She's generally grounded in logic, in morality, maybe even in the potential for healing. She's also the matriarch who has fought tooth and nail for years to protect her family, especially Finn, from Sheila's darkness.
So for her to reach that verdict, it carries immense weight.
Exactly. Lee's moral compass here is critical. For her to deem a family member unredeemable, it's basically sentencing Luna to permanently occupy the dark side of the show's moral universe.
It rules out a quick fix, right? Like,
Yeah.
oh, she had a brain tumor, or she suddenly feels really guilty and confesses.
Precisely. It suggests the show is investing in Luna as a long-term, non-negotiable antagonist. This verdict signifies that Luna isn't just, misguided or misunderstood. She is intentionally, maliciously bad.
And her actions this week become the cornerstone, the foundational event of that villainous future. That's a massive outcome from just one devastating scheme.
Absolutely huge.
Okay, we need to take a breath and pivot here. From the sheer horror and criminal chaos at Il Giardino to the much more internal, maybe slower motion disaster unfolding in Hope's love life.
Yeah, it's a different kind of instability, isn't it? One is caused by extreme external malice, the other by, wavering internal commitment. But instability is definitely the common thread.
So let's dissect the emotional stakes here. Midweek, we find Hope Logan where?
She's spending significant time, priority time apparently, with Liam Spencer at the Spencer Mansion.
Okay. And her fiancé, Carter Walton.
He has, according to the sources, backed off. He's given her space, maybe thinking he was doing the right thing. But that distance is key.
And Hope's mindset during this time with Liam, the sources are pretty blunt about it.
They really are. She actually tells Liam she wants to do nothing else but hang out with him, that there's nowhere else she would rather be.
Wow. That's not just visiting an ex who needs support. That's a major emotional declaration, isn't it?
Huge. It basically says her focus, her heart, is entirely outside of her current engagement.
And does Carter even register on her radar during this?
Apparently not. The source notes she's not even mentioning Carter. She's completely absorbed in Liam, in their connection, their history. It's almost like she's breaking up with Carter emotionally without actually having the conversation.
Prioritizing the baby daddy, as the sources sometimes call him, while her actual fiancé is trying to be understanding and give her space.
Which Carter probably thought was the noble, secure thing to do, right? Let her be there for Liam during this family. Well, we don't know exactly what's up with Liam yet, but some crisis.
But now Carter's patience is clearly wearing thin. Or maybe it's not patience, maybe it's panic.
Oh, I think it's panic setting in. He's acting out of fear and insecurity. He knows the rule. Proximity equals peril whenever Hope and Liam are involved.
He realizes that giving her space was maybe a fatal mistake for their relationship.
Absolutely. He sees every moment she spends reconnecting with Liam as another tick on the clock counting down to the end of their engagement. His strategy failed, so now he's switching tactics.
To what? An aggressive countermove.
Exactly. An aggressive, accelerated commitment strategy. He's trying to preempt the inevitable split he fears is coming.
Meanwhile, what's Liam actually thinking? We know Bill Spencer's involved, trying to help Liam figure out what's next.
Yeah, Bill's always stirring the pot, isn't he? There's some speculation Liam might be thinking about a future with Hope again, especially after her declaration. But the source also suggests Liam might actually try to respect that relationship Hope has with Carter, at least for now.
Liam trying to respect boundaries? That would be new. But maybe possible. Still, Hope saying she'd rather be nowhere else must be testing that resolve.
Oh, for sure. But regardless of Liam's internal debate, Carter isn't waiting around. He's making his big move during this week, August 25th to 29th.
Okay, how does this start?
It starts with Carter going to Ridge Forrester at the Forrester Creations office.
Okay.
And he tells Ridge, straight up, I want to marry Hope.
Why Ridge? Is he seeking blessing, permission, backup?
Probably all of the above. He wants the patriarch's stamp of approval, validation. Maybe he's hoping Ridge can help convince Hope, or at least help solidify Carter's place within the Forrester-Logan dynamic. It feels like a classic move when you feel your position is unstable.
Definitely sounds like desperation fueled by insecurity. He's worried sick about Hope and Liam reconnecting.
Totally. So, after talking to Ridge, he then tries to propose something to Hope.
Something? What does that mean? Is it a full proposal or?
The speculation is that it might not be a traditional get down on one knee moment, but more of an urgent plea, an attempt to get her to elope or just get an ASAP wedding.
So lock it down. Fast. Before she can fully process these renewed feelings for Liam or have second thoughts.
Exactly. He's trying to control the situation through sheer speed. accelerate the commitment to make it irreversible.
That rarely works out well on this show, does it? Trying to rush things out of fear.
Almost never. And sure enough, true to bold and the beautiful tradition.
An interruption.
An interruption. The source says Ridge interrupts the conversation, or maybe the proposal attempt itself.
Ridge again. Okay, this is interesting. Why would Ridge interrupt? Is he trying to save Carter from immediate rejection? Or is he protecting Hope from making a mistake?
That's the fascinating question, isn't it? Ridge often plays that role, the parental figure stepping in when he senses emotional disaster looming for his kids, even stepkids like Hope. He might see Carter's about to crash and burn, or he might see Hope is about to agree to something her heart isn't really in.
Either way, the timing could not be worse for Carter.
Huh.
He's trying to push forward precisely when Hope is emotionally pulling back.
Exactly. And the speculation is pretty clear. Hope is likely to tap the brakes on any wedding plans.
Why? Because of Liam.
Because of those obvious lingering feelings for Liam, feelings she just declared to Liam himself. Her heart is clearly divided, if not already leaning heavily back towards Liam.
So Carter's big push for commitment is probably going to hit a wall.
It seems almost guaranteed to fail, or at least get dramatically stalled. It just perfectly sets up this climax for the relationship, stressing that love triangle right to its breaking point.
Hope tapping the brakes would be the ultimate validation of Carter's worst fears, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
His attempt to control the situation through speed just fails.
And it's interesting, there's a parallel there, isn't there, on a much different scale, obviously. But Luna tried to use aggressive action poison to control Will. Carter's using aggressive action accelerated commitment to control Hope.
Both trying to force an outcome because the underlying situation feels unstable and out of their control.
And the result in both cases seems to be more chaos, more instability. The show seems to be punishing those attempts at sort of unchecked power plays, whether they're criminal or emotional.
Okay, let's zoom out a bit. Look at the bigger picture. What does all this intense drama this week set up for the future?
Well, one significant thing is we're starting to get these little hints, these subtle nods towards the return of a major player.
What are we talking about?
Thomas Forrester.
Okay. The sources mentioned we should be watching for little drops here and there, some red flags.
Exactly. These probably won't be huge flashing signs yet, but subtle mentions. Maybe characters discussing Hope's fashion line, hope for the future, and how it needs a strong lead designer again.
Or maybe Steffi mentions Thomas's absence, but in a way that hints he's still relevant, still important to the dynamics.
Precisely. Little breadcrumbs laying the groundwork so his eventual return feels organic, even necessary for the story.
And this anticipated return, it connects to some real-world news too, right? Regarding Jacqueline McGinnis Wood, the actress who plays Steffi.
Yes, absolutely. The source material mentions that she recently had her baby, her fifth. Another boy. Congratulations to her.
Wow, fifth! That's amazing. And crucially for the show's timeline.
She's expected back filming sometime in October.
Okay, that's key information for fans trying to map things out if she's filming in October.
Then we know those big Steffi storylines, which almost always involve Finn, Liam, Hope, and yes, Thomas, are probably going to start hitting our screens maybe late 2024, or more likely early 2025.
And there was another detail mentioned, something about where she's returning to film.
Yes. At the show's new location, they've moved sets or built new ones.
How does a physical change like a new set potentially impact the storytelling? Does it signal anything symbolically?
Oh, it definitely can. New sets often represent new beginnings, fresh starts, or sometimes new challenges. It allows for a visual refresh, maybe a different kind of energy.
So maybe a new Forrester Creations office, or a new Cliff House for Steffi and Finn.
Could be. A new environment can shake things up. And strategically, if Steffi, one of the main leading ladies, is returning, the other major pieces on the board, especially Liam and Hope, need to be positioned for maximum drama.
Which explains why Hope's engagement to Carter needs to be unstable now.
Exactly. When Thomas returns, Hope needs to be available, or at least emotionally vulnerable and conflicted, for that central triangle Hope, Liam, Thomas to properly reignite. The current chaos with Carter serves that future purpose perfectly.
Okay, so let's try to synthesize this. We've got these two really different energies driving the week's events. On one hand, the extreme violent drama with Luna and Will.
Right, that's pure explosive disruption. It's criminal. It shatters innocence, forces immediate high-stakes investigation. It's about unchecked destructive power fueled by pure malice.
And on the other hand, we have the Hope, Liam Carter situation, which is more of a quiet, internal emotional disruption.
Yeah, that's the slow burn implosion, the realization that a relationship's foundation might be rotten. It's a collapse driven not by some external tragedy, but by internal conflict, by history, by hope maybe wrestling with the legacy of her own parents' endless love triangle, always cycling back to Liam.
But both storylines, despite their different tones,
They both seem to reinforce this core B&B theme, legacy, family history, and the immediate, often disastrous consequences of characters trying to exert unchecked power or control.
Luna channeling Sheila is the overt criminal version of that.
And Carter's desperate proposal, fueled by fear of losing hope to Liam again, is the emotional, relational version of that same attempt to control an outcome.
And the show demonstrates that whether you try to control things with poison or with pressure,
The result is instability, chaos, damage. It creates this environment where characters feel trapped, maybe by their family histories, maybe by their own impulses, and no one, whether they're innocent like Will or just desperate like Carter, seems truly safe from that pervasive instability. #tag out Ralph.
wow, okay, that was a lot.
Huh?
Tremendous amount of heavy drama packed into just a few fictional days. Let's try and boil it down. What are the absolute key takeaways for everyone listening?
Right, the recap nuggets. Okay, first and foremost, Luna. Her deliberate act of crossing the line into serious criminality.
Yeah, intentionally getting Will drunk with 180 proof alcohol, assaulting him. That wasn't just rivalry. That was her becoming a full-fledged villain.
A villain recognized as such even by the queen herself, Sheila Carter. That's takeaway number one. Luna's transformation is complete and likely permanent.
Okay, takeaway number 2.
Will's aftermath, the panic, the amnesia, it's not just about his trauma, it's about the immediate complication. A high likelihood of him falsely suspecting, maybe even accusing, Lainey.
Right, which deflects attention from the real perpetrator, Luna, buying her crucial time while potentially devastating an innocent person. Complexity and collateral damage.
Exactly. And takeaway number 3.
Carter's proposal push. Or maybe Carter's spectacularly ill-timed proposal push.
It comes right as Hope is basically declaring her heart still belongs to Liam, his desperate attempt to lock things down through speed.
Is almost certainly going to backfire, leading Hope to tap the brakes, as the sources say.
Keeping that engagement unstable. Keeping Hope emotionally available, right on the cusp of Thomas Forrester's inevitable return. It ensures that central love triangle is primed to explode again.
So criminality, false accusations, and doomed romance. It's a volatile mix, setting up major future conflicts.
Definitely. But maybe the single most powerful moment, the one that resonates most deeply, was Lee Finnegan's realization about Luna.
Yeah, after seeing the cold, calculated malice, Lee concludes Luna cannot be redeemed.
That verdict, coming from Lee, it really sticks with you.
It does. And it leaves us with a final thought, something for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Considering Lee's painful conclusion, how much is a character's future really dictated by their family's past?
Especially when your origin story is tied directly to someone like Sheila Carter, a figure who embodies that cycle of darkness.
Is Luna's fate sealed by her DNA, by her choices this week? What does it actually take to break a cycle of villainy like that on this show? Or is redemption simply off the table for her now?
Something to think about. We'll be back next time to dive into whatever comes next.
Thanks for joining us on The Deep Dive.